Hey there, I'm estate planning attorney Paul Rabelais, and in this video, I'm going to discuss how a credit shelter trust works, why they've been useful, and why they might now cost your family a significant amount in capital gains taxes. See, many estate plans written over the last 30 years were designed and written to reduce federal estate tax, but today those plans can create an income tax trap for families. Now, a credit shelter trust, also known as a bypass trust, it's a trust that's created at the death of the first spouse to die in order to shield the assets of the first spouse to die from the estate tax. Let me give you an example. Back in 2003, the federal estate tax exemption was $1 million. So if a married couple had a combined estate of $2 million, each spouse owned $1 million, husband owned $1 million, wife owned $1 million, combined it's $2 million, then by the first spouse to die, leaving their assets to a credit shelter trust, it would keep the assets of the first spouse to die out of the estate when the surviving spouse died. So after the first spouse died, the surviving spouse would still own their million, and then there'd be this credit shelter trust that would not be included in the estate of the surviving spouse. So technically the surviving spouse's estate was only $1 million, and the surviving spouse could use their $1 million exemption to shield their $1 million from the estate tax as well. And really at that time, we didn't care that assets in the credit shelter trust would not get a step up in basis when the surviving spouse dies, because the credit shelter trust was helping us avoid a 50% estate tax. But today, in the year 2025, the federal estate tax exemption is $13.99 million. And we have something now called a portability election, which makes it easy for a married couple to shield $28 million from the federal estate tax, even if the first spouse to die leaves their estate to the surviving spouse. Now, most families don't need to bother with having to shelter assets from the estate tax anymore. The tax problem these days with the credit shelter trust is that assets in a credit shelter trust don't get a step up in basis when the surviving spouse dies. If the credit shelter trust holds real estate, stock, or a business that grows in value from the time that the first spouse dies until the time that the surviving spouse dies, the kids or other beneficiaries will likely owe big-time capital gains taxes when they ultimately sell those assets after both spouses pass away. You see, if assets are in a credit shelter trust or bypass trust, there's no step up. The kids are stuck with the original basis from when the first spouse dies, which could have been decades earlier. Now, I will tell you, while a credit shelter trust can offer valuable non-tax benefits, such as protecting assets from the remarriage risk by ensuring that the assets of the first spouse to die ultimately go to the first spouse to die's heirs or other intended beneficiaries, it is important for married couples to also consider the capital gains tax and income tax implications. And specifically, assets held in a credit shelter trust don't receive a second step up in basis when the surviving spouse dies. This can lead to significant capital gains taxes for heirs if those assets appreciate in value from when the first spouse dies until the surviving spouse dies. In contrast, arranging the estate so that all assets remain includable in the surviving spouse's estate can allow for a full step up in basis at the surviving spouse's death, potentially reducing or eliminating capital gains taxes for beneficiaries, children, or other intended heirs. The key here is balancing that asset protection with tax efficiency is key. So make sure you check your will or trust, or have an attorney check your will or trust for you, or have our estate planning law firm, we help clients all around the country, have us check that will or trust for you. And you can do that by clicking a link in the description where you request that Zoom meeting where you can upload the documents and we can take a look at things fairly quickly. Hope that helps. We'll see you next time.